No, but listen to, did you hear the press conference of Seleke Kromah, the IG? He did say that this is a highly political case, did he not? So you don't take the party's word for it, you take the IG's word for it.
We elect a fact irresponsible man what happened to our country. We elect a responsible man to govern this country, not to be very irresponsible.
Please place your left hand on the Bible being held by your wife, and you will kindly raise your right hand, sir, and repeat after me. All standing, please. I, Joseph Newman Boyka Sr.
No secret now that your friend and former boss will be a candidate in 2029. With all of that you experience, all of that you know, and everything that you see unfolding in the country now, will you support him? Will you be part of the process? Will you give him the support? Do you think he can be a better president?
So why you want to bring political Benin in it now?
Oh, but you political you're political man, before you go out, very active.
I plead the fifth again.
Okay.
When 2029 come and pass, then you finally leave. Mission is completed. Now, what the rules of engagement? When the war ended, the guy said, the captain, the commander said, mission complete. There winner out first. All men on board.
So, this riot situation when it comes to countries, because many times you notice that
if Charles Taylor is the problem, he will be out of here in the twinkle of an eye. And I say, let well-meaning Liberians come home. If we respect this constitution, a government formed in Accra is a violation of Article 1 of the Constitution. Let them come home. Let that government be formed in Monrovia.
On the Boyka's administration, we want to give the government of Liberia an ultimatum of 72 hours to provide a living ballot of the chairman of the Student Unification Party, or else there will be a catastrophic pneumonia in the Republic of Liberia. To arrest the chairman of the Student Unification Party, only because the government feel intimidated about the Vanguard Party advocacies.
The government got kept the rule, small, B rule, all kinds of the place. I think the reason Joseph Baga will not do much because the old man, the papa is suffering. The papa loves the country, but he can't make it. The criminal there around him, they sophisticated than him. They are sophisticated criminals, so they can't make it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Friday edition of our regular show. This is the end of the week. So we are going to be making our closing argument for the week. We are hoping that you will be a full participant. Share the show. Let your neighbors know that today we did not intend or expect to have ended the week on the amount of happiness in the Republic of Liberia. I woke up this morning to a lot of texts and messages, phone call, to this dramatic arrest or drug bust in the Republic of Liberia on one of our renowned artists, Bucket Raw. His name is. His home being ransacked by several DEA officers. I am Jerome Gayman, your boy from Grand Bassa. as your host. As always, I would extend my greetings to the folks from the great state, as we call them, the Republic of Grand Bassa. To our cousins up north, Nimba and Bong County. A little east of us is our sister county, Riverside, Sesto City, to be very specific. And as we head to the great state of Montserrado, or county, if you want to call it that. Before that, we got Magibi, Montserrado, and as we go west, Bomi and Kipman counties, respectfully. And way up north, Bapolu, and the home of the president, Lofa. If you are in Vanjima or Bapolu or Foya, we say welcome to the weekend edition of the Closing Argument. We have a great show, as always, intellectually challenging, with a little bit of G's and juice. We're going to touch on Mr. Bucket Raw. Who is he? It looks like he has a huge following. After his arrest, his media team put up a statement that said he is being persecuted based on his past. Is this an admission of guilt? That he was a drug dealer? I am referencing his own press release from his media team. Share this show. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be rocky. It's going to be tough. Or we're going to be factual. And then on the second hour of the show, we're going to have Liberia's best, two of Liberia's best. We are talking about Liberia's best engineers in town. We're going to be hosting Honorable Jimmy Eastman, Senior Architect or Senior Technical Infrastructure Program Manager. He has worked with most of the big companies in town, including Verizon. We are also going to be hosting, as our guest, C. Ayeti Williams, engineer and project manager. All of these folks will be here today. We are going to be looking at bridges, roads, their quality, the procurement process, the accountability in our infrastructure development. It is 5 p.m. here. Another 45 minutes they will be here. That will be 9 p.m. Liberian time. Is that it? 9 p.m. Liberian time? Yes. Or 10 Liberian time, I guess. But no matter what, it is today, December the 12th. Mr. Williams and Mr. Eastman are going to be our guests in the next 45 minutes to discuss engineering of all kinds. Now that we are talking about engineering, let me pay tribute to one of the best architects of our time. He passed today at the age of 96. His name is Frank Owens Gary. He was born a Jew. His last name was Goldberg. February 28, 1929, December the 5th, he died. He was born February 28th, 1929, and he died last week, December the 5th, 2025. He was born in Canada and migrated to the United States. One of the best architects of our time, would say maybe in the last 100, 150 years. He revolutionized the art of architecture. He is known for his post-modern designs and use of unconventional forms and materials. A number of his buildings, including his private residence in Santa Monica, Santa Monica, California, have become attractions. People from all over the world troop to California to see some of his work. His most famous work include the Garguah Museum in Spain, the Walt Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles, and the Louis Vuitton Concert and Foundation in Paris. They said these buildings are characterized by his sculptural, often underlaid exterior and innovative use of material such as titanium and stainless steel. Gary rose to prominence in the 70s with his distinctive style and blended everyday material with complex, dynamic structure. Gary's approach to architecture was described as deconstructivist, though he didn't like the categorization that to deconstruct means to destroy other people's work, and he didn't like that, even though he turned the profession on its head. His work are considered among the most important of contemporary architecture, especially in 2010 in the World Architecture Survey. That is, among his peers around the world, the best of the best were surveyed, and they crowned him the best, leading the magazine Vanity Fair to call him the most important architect of our age. If the newspaper or the magazine Vanity Fair can say this about you, that tells you how important this man was. Throughout his career, Gary received numerous awards and honors, including the Prescott Tech Architecture Prize in 1989, considered the field's highest honor. He was also awarded the National Medal of Arts and the Presidential Medal of Freedom in the United States. Gary's influence extends beyond architecture. He designed furniture, jewelry, liquor bottles. This is a man with vision. Not only did he design buildings and bridges and you name it. If you walk into a liquor store and see a bottle that is just well designed and sculptured, and you look at it and you say, wow, even though you may not be a drinker of that brand, but the bottle, the way the bottle looks may attract you to that particular aisle. So this brings us to me segue into our guests that are coming on today, Mr. William and Mr. Eastman. These are folks that have done well in their own industries. They have worked. They have understood Liberia architectural designs, our engineering patterns. They will talk about some of our great architects, engineers that have gone before us. And in my own query, I'm going to go as far as asking them, are there any young architects, prospects, engineers that we can look forward to when it comes to the future of Liberia? Or have we lost everything to the Lebanese and the Indians? Do we have Liberian architects on the ground that we can count on and say, this is a work that we can point to and say, this is unique to Liberia? In my lifetime, I could count 1, 2, 3, 4. I could look at the bridge in Monrovia and say, this is the Gilbert Tucker Bridge. As an engineer, he spearheaded the construction and completion of the Gilbert Tucker Bridge. Some of Liberia's best sculptors and architects. If you listen, if you have watched, if you have read, Vanja Richards, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name, Vanja Richards. This conversation may lead into things that may not be pleasing to the ears of the Joseph Boakai, George Weah, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. At least it was under the George Weah administration where they began to put money into specialization. Doctors were going abroad to specialize in the different fields of medicine, whether it is surgery, orthopedic surgery, you name it. The first attempt that I know of. Are we putting money into our human development that will produce architects, sculptors? That's why when this budget came out, we looked into the Department of Education, and people, many, including myself, were disappointed. a country that is 203 years old. So we have two men. We are hoping to bring some women on in the field of architecture, engineering, whether electrical. We are going to bring them on. If you know who they are, you know where they are, please forward their names and we will fetch them. So let's go to the domestic news. Bucket Raw. This morning when I woke up, someone called me and said, you have to turn your phone on and look at what's happening. And I saw the home of the artist Bucket Raw. I don't know who he is. I'm not familiar with his music. But it was quite a scene. People in the house opening bags and throwing things around, tossing things all over the place. As a young man tried to make his case, telling folks, newsmen and women, please talk about some of the good things I have done and continue to do. He says, I have paid tuition next door to the school. When the kids are thrown out, I go to the rescue. When the kids need food, I feed them. He said, I am not telling you not to tell this story, but tell the whole story. Tell my side of the story too. That was Bucket Raw. After he was arrested later on, he raised his voice even louder when his PR folks put up a statement. And in a statement, he admitted to some degree that his arrest is based on his past reputation. So I want to believe he has been on the wrong side of the law prior in his previous life. He is pleading with us and anyone that will listen that we should not judge him based on his past. Without going into detail. So what is his past? What made him to think that he'd been judged based on his past? What did Bucket Raw do in his past life that is haunting him? What has Bucket Raw done in the past? Upon his arrest 6 hours ago, Bucket Raw wrote this. Said Bucket Raw writes, minutes after sources within the LDA confirmed his release. He said, and I quote, in quotation mark, in the past hour, a video has been circulating on social media of agents from the Liberian Drug Enforcement Agency entering my home during a live stream. Since then, false stories and misleading narratives have been spread, suggesting that I am involved in the drug activities. Let me be very clear. These allegations are false, intentionally misleading, and pushed by individuals who have been trying to undermine me and my event. It is no secret that my name, brand, has been a target in this industry for years. Certain people have gone out of their way to tear me down, distract my supporters, or create noise around any major move I make. Yesterday was no different, especially with my show scheduled for today. Liberia continues to face a deep struggle with drugs and substance abuse, and I have used my platform, voice, and image to support the fight against drugs. Yet, despite my growth, there are still those who choose to judge me by a past I have already walked away from. As the songwriter said, ever since I changed my life, is the old character they are judging me by. I want the public to hear this directly from me. I am not involved in any illegal drug activity. Anyone spreading these claims is doing so with bad intentions and personal agendas. My supporter knows my character. They know my journey. They know my truth. To the media, do your job. But please don't add unnecessary weight to my life by amplifying unverified narratives. The truth is right here. Thank you to everyone for standing with me. Your support means everything, especially in moments like this. I am still moving, still focused. And as for the show, it's happening tonight. We're not stopping nothing, quote unquote. That's Bucket Raw. Bucket Raw. He's telling it raw, giving it to you raw. That's the news. He is saying those who have targeted him want to bring him down because of what he has done in the past. He says he has already left that lifestyle behind. Then, a little while ago, this came out. The Liberian Drug Enforcement Agency have moved to address growing confusion and speculation following a wave of social media posts suggesting that Liberian musician Kehleboe Gongloe, better known as Bucket Raw, has been released from custody. This is being reported by Front Page Africa's Selma Lomax. The agency clarified that these reports are false and emphasized that the musician remains under active investigation in connection to a search operation executed as a Dopoh resident on Friday. The LDEA said the misinformation circulating online is misleading and does not reflect the procedures currently underway. According to the agency, officers acting under court-sanctioned search and seizure warrant entered the artist's home at about 7 in the morning as part of the claim wave. the ongoing nationwide operation targeting drug trafficking and related offenses. During the search, LDA officers seized 31.6 grams of marijuana and detained the musician along with other individuals found on the premises. The agency explained that the detainees remain under investigation and questioning, and that the Liberia drug law classify all drug-related offenses as non-bailable, making release at this stage impossible. Making release at this stage impossible. So the fact that the news have been circulating that he has been free, the DEA, according to Front Page Africa, say the drug offenses in Liberia are non-bailable. So his walking out of jail is impossible at this time. The LDA urged the public not to be swayed by social media rumors, stressing that no official communication confirming the single release have been issued. The case has drawn heightened public attention after a video circulating online showing agents entering the musician residence while he was live streaming. The video triggered widespread discussion and fueled away on unverified claims regarding the intent of the search, the quantity of substances discovered, and the legal standing of the detained. In the midst of these claims, Bucket Raw published a statement directly addressing his supporters and the public. In his message, the musician said the narrative linking him to drug distribution were untrue and intentionally damaging. He noted that individuals seeking to undermine him and disrupt his upcoming event planned for Friday, December 12 at 8 p.m. in Monrovia seized the opportunity to circulate falsehood and manipulate the situation for personal purposes. Bucket Raw described Liberia drug problem as a national crisis and said he has used his platform to support efforts aimed at discouraging substance abuse. He expressed frustration that despite his work to distance himself from past controversies, some people continue to judge him based on outdated perceptions. In his message, he insisted that he has no involvement in illegal drug activity and urged the media to avoid amplifying unverified stories. He thanked his supporters for standing with him and assured them that he remains focused despite the challenges posed by the ongoing investigation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, Liberia is an interesting country. Liberia has news galore. We are going to be discussing the Bucket Raw stuff. While we are dealing with law enforcement, let's go to the arson case. It says here, according to the Liberian investigator, state witness admits failed bid to coerce suspect to testify against defendants in capital arson case. That is the headline. The Capitol building arson trial jolted forward this week when the state's first witness, Raphael Wilson, admitted that prosecutors spent weeks trying and failing to recruit defendant John Yanati as a state witness. The disclosure made on a cross-examination at Criminal Code A. The admission revived long-standing questions about the integrity of the investigation into the December 18, 2024 blaze that destroyed 2 floors of the Liberian legislature. Wilson, who took the stand as the government's opening witness, confirmed that authorities hoped to secure Yanati's cooperation early in the probe. Prosecutors believe Nyenwolo, arrested in Ghana and extradited to Liberia, could provide crucial testimony linking alleged co-conspirators to the fire. But Wilson's testimony revealed that the plan to flip Nyenwolo ultimately collapsed. Under intense questioning by the defense lawyer, Counselor Arthur T. Johnson, Wilson said the government housed Nyenwolo in a hotel near Roberts International Airport shortly after his arrival, ostensibly to limit outside influence while investigators negotiated with him. However, Wilson acknowledged they did not conduct the interrogation, did not witness the statement-taking process, and could not confirm whether Nyenwolo wrote or signed the statement prosecutors had relied on for his persecution. Still, he could not provide details on whether the defendant had access to counsel or the chance to contact family members during his initial detention. A public outburst and the reshape of the case. On June 13, 2025, officers escorted Nyenwolo into Criminal Code A as he shouted to reporters that government officials had offered him $200,000 to falsely implicate former House Speaker Fofana Kofa in the arson plot. You say you have evidence, but you won't give me $200K to lie against Fofana Kofa, he yelled at the time. Nyenwolo insisted he had been in Liberia since June 6, long before his purported arrest, and accused the state actors of pressuring him to fabricate testimony. Thursday courtroom revelations, particularly Wilson's inability to confirm basic procedural steps, appear to reinforce Nyenwolo's claim that the investigator aggressively sought his cooperation through irregular means. On June 24, 2025, four major opposition political parties, the CDC, ANC, Citizen Movement for Change, and MOVE, released a joint statement accusing the Liberia National Police and the NSA of coercing witnesses, torturing detainees, and offering cash inducement to secure statement implicating opposition lawmakers. The party said the probe had been compromised by unlawful conduct that violated the Constitution and revived security practices Liberia has supposedly left behind. Former legislative staffer Thomas Edridge alleged he was taken to the NSA White Plains facility at night and tortured for days in an attempt to force him to accuse former Speaker Fofana Kofa. He said investigators presented him with a pre-written statement and insisted he sign it. He refused. Another alleged victim, Andrew Lawson, claimed he and fellow detainees Abba Wea were held for 8 days, beaten and forced to drink urine before officers offered them money to testify against lawmakers. Lawson later said NSA operative apologized and offered him $2,000 if he would sign a prepared statement. He also said he refused. In his family publicly confirmed elements of the story. The party's additionally reported that several residents of District 16, reported by opposition lawmaker Dixon Sipo, were arrested simply because of their residence in the district. They said Bacchus Capper, Patrick Haley, Gabriel Fancier were detained and pressured to implicate others for being released. When they refused, they were kept in jail. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our Republic of Liberia. If you are just joining us, share this show, Today is going to be fun. It's going to be intellectually stimulating on Fridays. Nora Hawks is saying marijuana is not a harmful drug. It is a herb used to make a man understand himself. Okay. I had some very interesting topics, and I didn't want to go there. So Nora, please don't distract me. So Monrovia now, Liberia is now being split into two, divided into two. Generation X, Gen Z, and baby boomers. If you follow the media, social media today, you will find that mostly people from the two latter generations, the baby boomers and Generation X, they are pro-marijuana. They say marijuana is not a crime. Marijuana is not a drug. Marijuana is recreational. Like Nora just said, if you are a man or woman and you want to understand yourself, take some marijuana. And then there are those who are saying marijuana is a gateway drug. They start with marijuana and then they progress to something higher and higher and higher. The NAACP has a phrase. And everybody quote this: the mind is a terrible thing to waste. The brain is the most complicated muscle in our body. Yesterday, we talked about crooks. We talked about politicians. Who are crooks? I quoted the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tip O'Neill. The journalist asked him, say, Honorable Tip O'Neill, the American Congress approval rating is 8%. But in your district, you have a 95% approval rating. How is that possible? He said, I guess everybody likes their own crooks. If you call me, they call me a crook in Washington, D.C., but my folks back here love me because I'm bringing home the bacon. I'm bringing home everything they need. They don't care how I bring it. As long as they get it, I'm the best man. So to them, they love me. So you can call me crook all you want. Everybody loves their own crook. So here we are. If you are in Liberia and you love marijuana, you will be back in Bucket Raw and say, Bucket Raw, you are the man. If you're from our generation, the older folks that just don't like any of those things, you say, lock them up. I have my friend here, Abdullah, that comes to my house. He gets upset. He stays away from the bottle of liquor, the beer. He doesn't want that because it's against his religion. But he excuses himself. He go outside and smoke more weed than I've ever seen. And I said, but what did Islam say? What did Allah say about marijuana? He said, oh, it's natural because it grows out of the ground. So this is how his religion, or he uses his religion. I'm not familiar with the text, but he uses that to say it grows. So he came back in the house. I said, do you know that alcohol grows out of the ground? He said, no. I said, most of the tea come from sugar cane. They come from potatoes. Potato grows out of the ground. Sugar cane grows out of the ground. Yeah. I said, I could say this simply. I drink my beer. I drink my gin.
The wine?
Yeah, wine. They all grow out of the ground. He started laughing. So I said, you see, both of us, you are Muslim, Christian, we have something in common. It's the way we see things. It's the interpretation of the subject matter. So yes, people are saying now that Nora saying marijuana is not a harmful drug. It is a herb used to make man understand himself. Aha! Thank you, Nora. I've always wondered who I was. I'm going to smoke some weed. I've never smoked it before, but maybe I need to.
But,
let me welcome Anthony Gay. Anthony Gay, do you understand yourself?
I understand myself, but
you smoke weed. You smoke weed.
When it comes to weed,
you smoke weed.
No, I don't smoke weed.
So,
but when it comes to weed, I want to recommend a documentary done by Dr. Sanjay Gupta on CNN.
That's
you
correct.
go on YouTube right now, you type weed 1, weed 2, weed 3, up to I think 5 different episodes, and the medicinal benefits from weed. Yeah, I think you won an award for even speaking on that, because people we look at and run away from in Liberia with epilepsies that have so many different episodes. In some instances they even get burned when they have an episode and they're near fire, things of that nature. But they have been able to demonstrate the power of weed. In America they can separate the CBD from the THC. The THC is the one that gets you high. The CBD is the one that mellows you, that give you the calm, that give you the comfort for people that are battling cancer and other painful diseases. They use those things to calm their pain. And so that's why you see a lot of people, the first state that actually legalized that was Colorado. And the economic benefit from weed boosted in Colorado. In the state of Pennsylvania now, they have dispensaries. In the state of Delaware, they also, where I'm at right now, they have dispensary across town where you can go and purchase these things.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, go ahead.
How you follow all these things around this thing? How you know where they are? I mean, you are a good researcher.
Sanjay Gupta. I like his presentation. He's a neurosurgeon and also a correspondent on CNN. And so every week he performs surgery, according to a documentary that was done. And I was fortunate, the very first documentary on weed, I followed it all through from the beginning to the end. And then he had a second documentary of weed, which is called Weed 2. And all of these things I'm talking about, you can find it on YouTube right now. Go type Weed 1 and you'll see Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Ladies and gentlemen,
will give you more and more information on weed.
Anthony Gay is advocating Weed 1, Weed 2, Weed 3. You are very good in your weed. Go ahead.
There is economic benefit to weed. If you look at the state of Colorado, millions. It's $1 billion business.
Okay.
The state of Colorado is number 1 in the U.S. that make a lot of money from weed. And then across the before you have 1 or 2 ounces of weed, they would lock you up. Now in the state of Delaware, you have up to 4 ounces of weed that you can have in your possession, right? If you have your medical card, you can go to the dispensary and purchase weed there. Like I said,
listen, man, Anthony Gay, I got to bring you back here, especially you have become a weed expert. Before I told you an IT guy, but you are a better weed guy than I. Listen, you are a better weed guy than IT. I can tell you that.
No. Mr. Gayman, you up for the phone, Mr. Nagbe, welcome.
Hey.
Mr. Nagbe, welcome to the show.
Mr. Gay and Mr. Gayman, it's good to be with you.
Yeah. So, but I really keep on the show today because, something very dear to my heart will be discussed here today. It is in my own backyard, data infrastructure, deployment, and the way for Liberia, infrastructure, stuff. So yeah, that's what I want to listen to, the veteran in the business, because people that Ms. Eastman and the dear brother Williams that will be on here, so I can pick from the mind and that understanding of the area, because this is how Liberia can compete in this technological economy that we have right now. Any country that overlook technology, you are all looking billions and billions of dollars where job can be created, where your life can be made easy, and things of that nature. So that's the conversation we need to be having instead of politics. How do we, open up Liberia to broadband connectivity? In the Biden administration, there was a $38 million was available for Liberia just for broadband connectivity across the length and breadth of Liberia. Liberia did not make use of that. And I don't know if this administration is looking into that direction. I heard them talking about the University of Liberia to have master degree level AI program. My dear people, I don't know how do you do that when you don't even have the preliminary step of IT first before you even talk about master degree level. You need to start from somewhere. How can we have data center in Liberia? How can we have the infrastructure across? Having Wi-Fi internet on your cell phone, that's not broadband connectivity, man. You need the infrastructure on the ground and that can back you up. And so we can't depend on just Starlink alone, right? We need our own infrastructure. And I think our dear brother will discuss that today. I'm here just to listen in and learn more from them. And
wasn't there effort on the way to lay the West African cable, I believe, and I think fiber optic as well for Liberia?
Yeah, you're speaking to our expert here at Splice Fiber for a living. So yeah,
I'm asking whether and I do recognize that, Mr. Gay. I think but I was asking as to whether I know that during the former President Weah's regime, there were discussions about expanding the bandwidth coming into Liberia, either by I think there is a West African cable that's supposed to be coming down, or I think fiber optic. I'm not sure.
We do have fiber optic in Liberia.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are not here for your
but it's not by FTA. That's it. It's not across the nation.
Mr. Gay, we are not here.
Sitting right there.
Mr. Gay and Nagbe, we're gonna bring you guys back later on, and we're gonna talk about bucket raw.
So I don't know his story, but I can tell you, weed is not a bad drug. Nobody have been overdosed from weed.
That is not the case here. We are not talking about.
They are not clean one single life.
Mr. Gay, you sound like you have an experience, but we're talking about.
I never taken it. I just read about it and I know and help people. Anybody that have epilepsy, that have multiple episodes, with 10 or 15 episodes in a month, if they're taking the CBD one, they can get 1 or 2 episodes in a month. You see how drastic it cut it down just by taking that.
Mr. Gay, thank you very much for your opinion. Like I said, we're going to have another show where we're going to divide Liberia, because Liberia is already divided. Those who support marijuana say, let bucket raw go. And those of us who don't like this thing, we say, anybody with drug, no matter what, lock them up. Bucket raw is saying he's been persecuted because of his past. So was he a drug dealer in the past? We'll delve into that maybe Monday. Mr. Raw, Bucket Raw, you are in jail.
He's out. He's performing tonight.
We will see. According to the LDA, their statement just came out. They say he is still behind bar. So we'll see. Keep us posted. Let me welcome our guest here, Mr. C. If I mispronounce your name, let me know. Is that Ayati Williams?
Ayite Williams.
Ayite Williams, welcome to the show, founder of We Too Are Liberian Movement. Is that how it is?
Yeah, We Too Are Liberian Movement.
There you go. We Too Are Liberian Movement. And let me warn Nora, you are in Liberia on vacation, and this legalized weed you doing over there. Victor, tell your sister Nora she says she went to Liberia, and now instead of calling me and telling me how we should legalize marijuana. But
now my business. She said I come from the progressive camp. We don't want brother Cook to Liberia. She always, every time she come here, she can make it very clear.
But how can she throw you away when your generation we're advocating for legalization of weed? So y'all got a lot in common. Mr. Wheeler, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Great. I started the show with an intellectual piece. Today, not today, but this week, we lost one of the great giants in the field of intellectual architecture. That's Frank Gehry. Frank Gehry, the guy who designed the Guggenheim Museum, the Louis Vuitton Foundation. I mean, some of the top buildings in the world. He passed away on the 5th, and NPR and the international community paying attention and they paying their tribute to him. So that was, for me, a kind of segue into where we are going with you and hopefully Mr. Eastman. What you guys do, it is something that is far in between. So we are going to be investigating, talking to you. We are going to be looking at the worlds of architecture. We're going to be looking at different engineering. We're going to look at the different things that you all do, what you bring to the table. And at the end of the day, we will want to summarize whether we have the Gabriel talkers of the world in the waiting. Do we have our own Frank Garys of the world? Do we have the Vanjie Riches of the world? Is there a gap? How long will it take for us to develop our own unique history in the engineering fields and something of that nature? Welcome. Tell us who you are. Introduce yourself. My first time meeting you. I'm glad that you are on our show. Talk to us a little bit. Who is Mr. Williams?
Thanks for having me again. It's a pleasure to share time and space with individuals who have drawn towards seeing and making sure that our country, moves from where she is to be elevated to the next level, especially to be able to compete with counterparts around the world. I'm C.I.E. Williams. I have a background in construction, civil engineering, as well as project management. I have worked in various capacity from municipal engineering, inspection, construction, to federal interstate highways. Also, I've worked outside the country for the most part, U.S. territories, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Island, on FEMA STEP program, restoring projects or buildings that were destroyed by hurricanes, making sure that we restore them to their pre-existing condition. I have also worked again on institutional projects, that is colleges. Did a minimum on residential construction. Also work in commercial construction. So roadway and bridges actually is my background. That's what I really like to get into, and that's something that on my small podcast I have been, preaching this gospel about, seeing our infrastructure being brought up to par. The real truth is, I don't even think we have one. So hopefully today we can dive a little bit deep into it. Again, it's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to having a fruitful conversation. Hopefully there's a takeaway from the conversation today. Thank you for having me.
Great. With me today are Honorable J. Victor Nagbe. Victor Nagbe, your guests.
Hey, Mr. Williams, welcome on set, man. It's good to meet you. I don't think we met before, but I'm really impressed from your background. I'm glad you're here to, walk us through how we can all help rebuild Liberia. When was the last for you in Liberia?
I was in Liberia last September.
Okay.
I did a whole month there.
Okay. That's good. Have you done any work in Liberia? Sorry, Jerome.
No, actually, the truth is I graduated from high school in Liberia, and then I left Liberia, lived in Ghana for about a year, several months. So I've actually picked up construction from Ghana. I went to tech school, picked up construction technology. And once I migrated to the States, I decided I was going to pursue my studies in construction, and then from construction into civil engineering, and then project management. So I thought that those three were good fits, and particularly interest in highway, roadways, transportation engineering, things of that nature. So that's something that I like to bring to the forefront, and I always like to go back to my root, because I'm a globalist, I'm an internationalist, as well as nationalist and a Pan-Africanist. So my foundation is from Africa. So that's something I always want to, bring to the forefront.
Thank you. Mr. Gay.
Yeah, Mr. William, welcome to the show. And while you were in Liberia, were you there to visit, or while on your visit, did you, take a time to, look at our road condition and the bridges and see, were you able to do any sort of assessment or just visual visitation as to, what needs to be done?
Most definitely. Well, my visit, I'm not going to get in depth, but my younger brother runs a small construction firm. So I actually went there. The goal and objective was to go there and support his endeavor. And so while there, one of the things that I was really concerned about, the road condition in the country. So landing right at the international airport there on my way to Center City or wherever, we were stationed, I was actually disappointed. I left the country in '97 and went back briefly 2021 for 3 days after my mom passed. And so I don't know if you allow me to take it a step further. I took it upon myself.
Sure.
Like I said, I have a particular interest in roadways, and I know when it comes to our infrastructure, one of the things that I have always been concerned about, I think we need to go back to the drawing table. There has to be a national blueprint for our infrastructure when it comes to Liberia. Like I said, the country avoid politics. The country was established on a very poor foundation. And so I think when it comes to our infrastructure, we ourselves, for those of us who are in the industry, we need to take a step back, put together a farm blueprint to see how we can take this country farther. So as far as the roadway, to answer your question, yes, I have a small podcast, a platform called the We to Our Librarians Movement. I took upon myself to do a visual assessment, because the truth is you cannot evaluate the road condition just visually. You can do that in terms of safety and some other aesthetic features that you will see, but in terms of this, to do that, you must have specification, you must have standard drawings, you must have the contract, you must have special provisions that you can look into and say, this is the benchmark, this is what I can use to. But some of the things that I saw, just the road was partially paved. I was concerned about the asphalt that was being placed, how long it had been placed. I was told that that particular base course was placed years back. They were going to come back, and I think we're going to get into that technical aspect, but that's not how it should be. I saw medium barriers that were exposed without attenuator. That's a safety hazard. I saw drainages that were open. I saw construction work going on. I didn't see a consultant firm, that is guys who were there to provide oversight for the government. So there was a whole bunch of things that I saw, just from the get-go. You can see that. And I think that's one of the major problems that we had, because I actually went to the Ministry of Public Works and have my company registered. So then came back. In fact, I was on the road many times. And once I did that video, I posted it. I think right after I did the video the next day, because I was in the, where is that called? Where the president lived. I'm not very familiar, but anyways.
The rehab.
Yeah, of course. So I was around that area. So the next day, right where I did the video, there was a crash. I think we see it here in developed countries where you have a medium barrier, and the face of the medium barrier, you must have an attenuator. So if a motorist veer off the road and that motor vehicle attempt to hit the barrier, he hits the attenuator. What it does is it mitigates the impact.
The impact.
Yeah, the impact to you. You might sustain injury, but but
not to the full weight that without that.
Exactly. So those were things that I saw, and so this I think another thing I saw concrete was being placed or poured, and I didn't see the concrete being tested. I was concerned about where the concrete was coming from, the plants. If the department had an approved plants and mixed design for not only the concrete, but also asphalt, you know what I mean? Our construction material. So those are things visually that I saw. I thought that, you know, somebody's not doing their work and they're playing the blind eye. And so those are things that we need to discuss, bring to the table. Like I said, as far as the blueprint, we can start talking about then, you know, planning plays a major role in engineering and construction. If we can we can all sit down at a round table, you know, come up with a strategic plan, hopefully design some plan, and then design. All we can do, you know, we create some standards, and then, you know, also ensure that we have accredited body for our construction materials. For example, steel, the asphalt, the concrete, the fine aggregate that we call sand, you know, coarse aggregate that we call crush rock. Those things, we need to make sure that we have labs and things like that. Make sure that our material, we know where they're coming from. They're meeting the quality control specification, things like that. So there's a whole lot we can get into. I mean, but I don't want to go too far yet. So those are things that I saw and I highlighted, and I thought that it's very important that we you know, take heed to that. And
great. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us here, we have rear engineer, not an engineer like me who would talk engineering. Mr. Williams, we want to send a shout out to the schools you went to in Liberia. Which high school did you go to in Liberia?
I actually started primary education at the Semiacres Catholic school there in Ghanarsville.
The Semiacres name keeps coming up every time you guys come out here. We gotta kick the Cali people out of that place, man. Semiacres, we gotta kick you out. Yeah, go ahead, Semiacres.
So I went there, and then I went to the high school up in New Georgia. The New Georgia Road, graduated.
What's the name of the high school?
Semiacres Catholic High School.
Oh, Semiacres, okay.
Yeah, so I went to elementary and then went to the high school. So I graduated, but due to the Civil War, I did a semester at Colonel, call it right, Colonel, yeah, Colonel Mission. So I did one semester, then came back to Monrovia. So my entire education, I would say, in terms of primary high school education, is from Semiacres Catholic High School. Then
okay, guys, let me send a shout out to Semiacres High School. Listen, we have seen a lot of the folks, quality folks that come on this show went to that Cali High School. There ought to be something.
You know any of them? Do you know any of them?
Not really. Maybe I think somebody related to J. Victor Nagbe, maybe.
But when I went there though, it was only at the 9th grade level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah,
because when I started, I think it was just 9th grade.
Yeah.
Wow. But yes, we have had a lot of guests. The reason, you know, they'd be surprised when I ask, because for me, I put more premium on your primary education than because if you get our foundation right, and from what you guys have done, what Honorable Victor Nagbe, you and a few other folks that came here have done, it tells us that the Catholic school system around the world is second to none. I mean, you can say all you want to say, but look at the product, look what they put out. So we want to say shout out to Semiacres over there in Monrovia. You guys are doing a great job. You got great representation here every time they kind of show up. So let's talk about engineering. What is engineering and what are the different kinds of engineering? And why did you choose to be a civil engineer?
It's funny because when I was coming up, you know, I like entertainment. So I really thought that two things: entertainment, like being maybe a singer, rapper, something like, even in Liberia, or a medical doctor, which maybe that was going to be my side joint in the medical doctor. I was not the smartest. I was very jovial in school, play around, but I did my best. So the concept of construction and engineering actually came when I moved to Ghana as a refugee. So I had no other option but to find something important to do. So I enrolled myself in the tech school, did building construction where I had my certificate. And it was there that I discovered that I had my strength in the area, because I was good with architectural drafting. I started doing good with just the construction in its entirety. And the instructor there at the time saw how good I was. He said, well, you know what, you can be my TA. So did that. And then there was another school on the camp there that I went to. So it started there. But then when I came to the States, I knew for a fact I was going to pursue studying in construction. But the fact that I landed in the Philadelphia area that was heavily concentrated with the human services, not to put a disdain on it, a lot of folks were like, you're wasting your time, trying to pursue a degree in construction, because this is actually a white man's career path. But, me being who I am, I stuck with it. So I started out at the community college where I obtained my associates, and then went to Widener. I did a couple of semesters at Temple University, but we were finally graduate from Widener University with my bachelor's in civil engineering, and then continue on, did a master's in project management from Keller Graduate School. And then also something that I don't really like to talk about, started a doctorate in project management at Liberia University. But because of work and travel, and then my mother passing, so I took some time off. But anyway, now to talk about, let's say engineering is just, I think, the use of math and science and to solve real world problem, pretty much. And when it comes to civil engineering, actually, I think the history of civil engineering comes from military engineering, from what I studied. So there were one engineer that was military engineering, and to branch off came civil engineer, means that civilian engineering. And so that's one thing that I was taught from college. So civil engineering, for the most part, would just be engineering that has to do with civil works. For example, it could be sewer lateral, it could be wastewater treatment, highway, roadways, building, things of that nature, transportation engineering. So there are different types of engineering that was birthed from civil engineering. Like I mentioned, would be transportation engineering, would be environmental engineering. They all came. Geotechnical engineering has some, I would say, alignment with civil engineering, because it has to do with soil, environmental, water, wastewater, transportation. That has to do with, roadways. Also, you can talk about, then we talk about transit. That would be train, things of that nature, waterways, ship moving here and there. All those are all part, and even airport, how we dispatch people, ensuring that we don't have the airport crowded. That you can even constitute that as a form of engineering, because of how you will ensure to manage passenger, ensuring that they don't have the place congested, and those free movement, creating corridors so that you cannot have traffic. So those are all different types of engineering that you can bring to the forefront. We have to talk about. But like I said, I think I am heavily and strategically endowed in transportation, highway, roadway, bridge, anything of that nature. I can do buildings and things of that nature, Yeah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, do us a favor, share the show, get involved. It shouldn't be politics. It shouldn't be gossip. It shouldn't be bringing other Liberian people down. We should set a day aside like today to intellectually stimulate our minds. Our young folks, Liberians, are put in lots of time to study, deny themselves the instant gratification to be where they are. So we usually set Fridays aside to celebrate those folks and learn from them. So, Mr. Williams, we want to be very thankful to you for taking your time off to come here and educate us. And we'll be asking some poignant questions. Mr. Nagbe.
No, Jerome. I'm really, I'm enjoying listening to Mr. Williams. Shout out, first of all, let me give a shout out to my cousin, Beware Toka. She usually watches the show. She's watching now, and she wants you all to know she also went to St. Michael's High School. So so yeah, cause it's nice of you to be watching. Mr. Williams, are you from the Southeast? Or your parents from the Southeast?
Somewhere. Actually, my dad with Togolese, but we're born in Liberia.
Okay. All right.
Where in Liberia was he born?
Now your first name, I get it, right?
Oh, he's a Monrovia boy. Okay.
My man, wait.
I gotta. I like I like President Totman. President Totman used to say this. He said there are two kinds of Liberian boys, us and the Monrovia boys. He said that's why I like dealing with Monrovia boys. They're hard-headed. You got to put them in jail.
Yeah. So what I would do, I know Jerome has not had time to welcome our guests, but it looks like there are some questions here that I want you to answer. For instance, Nora Hooks is asking, why was he deported in the first place?
That
was the previous topic. That was the previous topic.
All right, Jerome. I'll continue to listen. I don't have a question for Mr. Williams.
Okay, Victor, and that question is very germane to what we are talking about, because just imagine that is related to Bucky Raw, the entertainer, right? The rapper.
Yes, I realize that now.
And Mr. William wanted to be a rapper.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a musician. He wanted to be and he told music to be his first love and medical doctor on his side. Can you imagine? But you see how God works in mysterious ways.
Well, Mr. Gilman, you know one thing. Rob Walter Emerson once he said in the lecture back in 1871, he said, "If a man can write a better book, preach a better sermon, or build a better mousetrap than his neighbor, even if he builds his house in the wood, the word is going to make a beaten path to his door." Dr. King concluded one of his speech saying, "If it cannot be a tree, be a bush. It cannot be a highway, be a roadway." So it really doesn't matter what you become. The truth is, just be the best or whatever.
That's right.
And I think that's one of the problems that we have in our country.
Absolutely.
If whatever we find to do, our hands find to do. Whether you're a janitor, be the best. You're a hairdresser, you're a barber, you're a beautician. Just be the best. So I think cultural relativism also says that all disciplines should be looked at as equal. It's just like languages, tribes, and things of that nature.
No, you're so right. For a very long time, the office job, the suit tie, those were the jobs that people called actual jobs. If you were a mechanic, if you were a plumber, a carpenter, in other form of revenue generation. You weren't really regarded. It's only probably over the next maybe 25 years or so that we began to give courtesy and recognition, to other jobs other than office jobs. And so for a very long time, pretty much every Liberian aspired to, a desk job, suit and tie, bank teller, even if you were a bank teller. Fact that you wore a tie or so, but I so much agree with you.
Mr. Gay.
Yeah, I'm sitting here and it's so ironic, right? My first choice, I was in the 7th grade and I wrote on a piece of paper 3 major career paths I wanted to have taken. The first thing I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, which is the medical field, and the second was to be a computer engineer, and the third one was to do mass communication. And but today I'm in the IT field, right? So he in the civil engineering, I'm in the data infrastructure engineering as well. So anything, data infrastructure, data operations, and all of that stuff, they're my part. So he and I speak another language, which when it comes to safety, he understands OSHA. I'm licensed in OSHA. He's licensed in OSHA because he would not work in that field without being licensed in OSHA for safety purposes. So it's very important. Not many Liberians find construction as a rewarding path, right? Doing civil engineering, starting off with construction for and elevating yourself to civil engineering. People overlook, like Mr. Nagbe rightly said, people overlook this area. But you will not look at the infrastructure in China or Singapore and other places and admire the city, the beauty of the city without those engineers, right? They put in the work. And it struck me to see, I'm not a civil engineer, but I have common sense to know that why people still build roads of the 70s and 80s in Liberia in the 21st century, right? We still see a narrow path road, highway, and there's a small pathway, instead of widening the road, having a 2-lane road or 3-lane expressway, or even if it's just going to be what we consider a countryside road here in America, it has to be a certain width, right? And so I think one thing you will agree with me and Mr. William is that safety is compromised in Liberia, isn't it?
It is. It is. I'm glad that you brought that up because there's a lot of things that I was hoping to really highlight. Now that you talk about safety, but I'll get to safety. Can I backtrack a little bit because it's safety.
Sure.
The health and safety, welfare of our workers, of the contractors, and even motorists. And pedestrian, just citizens, should be held paramount. I think in any, it saved companies money. It also saved lives, properties, and things of that nature. Just quite recently, I was watching the 2 overpasses that's been built in, I think in Konga Town. Very disappointing. That like I said, void politics. I have no political alignment, so that's one thing I know. I can say anything I want to say. I'm not trying to be braggadocious. I'm not looking for a job. I speak truth. I'm here to speak the truth. And so now that you talk about safety, Spoon Network had one of the journalists on site interviewing a few of the workers we saw on the construction site where workers were walking around without safety boots.
Yep. No PPE.
Personal protective equipment. And it's think about it. So what is the Department of Public Works doing? That's something that they need to address in the very first place, because that should be part of the contract. And it goes back to the question of what type of people we want to be. What type of Liberia do we want? You were talking about roadway, talking about the width of the road and all that kind of stuff. We need to sit down and pen these things and design these things. Then, and then we can go ahead, and if we're outsourcing or giving out our contractors, then we have these guidelines that contractors will follow. Then we can go ahead and ensure that we have these accredited body that would train our inspectors and things that to ensure. How do we enforce it? So you have people on the work site working without proper safety equipment. Some of them not properly even trained to run the equipment. People have lost their limbs. People sustain major injuries on the job site. So those are things that I feel like we need to ensure, or the government of Liberia. But one thing I want to bring to your attention, I think, I don't know if I answered that question quickly, but I feel like what needs to be done first is to put together what I would call, I have been talking about that, these standards that we say are national road standards, since in Liberia as a country, national, we can do inter-county standards, and then we expect, and then we can have our municipal. So with that, we put all that, like you talk about safety, safety can be part of it, you know, and at the workplace, we should display a lot of these regulations so that those who are hiring these people can be held accountable to. I know we'll get to accountable what they're accountable for. And then even the workers will know exactly how they carry themselves on these job sites. But I saw rebars were exposed, the construction site, in fact, you know, the active work zone. I saw people people were walking to the active work zone. Even the Minister of Labor, I saw him on the work site without hard hats. I saw him on the work site without safety boots. So it means that those who are in the upper echelon, we've not set this. It goes back to stand up, Mr. Gay. Until we can set those standards, that we cannot hold anyone accountable. The OSHA that you have, those are accredited bodies that train you, to certify you, and then in fact, there are certain jobs, if you don't have, you cannot go on this job.
You can't even go on the site.
So yes, of course, we need to ensure that we are pitching the idea to have these things, you know, stipulated within our contract, or, you know, government entities or ministries that are responsible for those things. Make sure that we have those bodies, they're training our workforce so that when they go out there, they're safer, not only them, but also, you know, the citizens are safe, contractors are safe, pedestrians are safe, motorists are safe. So yes, I think is a broader topic that we can discuss.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, please do us a favor, share the show, send in your comment. If you are from the engineering background, we are talking about roads, bridges, and everything, just send us the question, or we'll open the line later on if we have time for you to interact. We have Mr. Williams here. The reason I like him better than most people is Mr. Williams he's the complete package. Not only is he an engineer, but he's a contractor. He's a project manager, so he goes from the entire scope. So he's not just an engineer that shows up. No, he has managed projects, so he knows when even the project managers are not doing their job. This is what we need when we're talking about a complete engineer. Now, let me ask you. A few years ago, I was in Liberia, and I was sitting with the gentleman, about 3 guys from the World Bank. They came to Liberia. They have studied the city, and they wanted to get rid of congestion in the city. So they had a proposal from the World Bank called How to Move Liberia. And one of the guys came from Italy, and he wanted to look at the waterways, how to use the waterways to relieve the city of congestion. Then he said the entire engineering structure of Liberia is so bad. Then he used our most famous bridge, Gibraltar Bridge. He says what they had envisioned was to use boats to move pedestrians around the country. He said, but the bridges are so built, they are built so low that nothing can go underneath. There's no arch in the bridges we build. And for them to have done that, he said they will have to dredge the Dew River to a degree that is not even worth it. So talk to us about, you're talking about we should reimagine the infrastructure development in Liberia. How could that be done? From now on, how should we build our bridges?
You see, it goes back again to what I just talked about, creating standard. And then it goes back to us being nationalists or true patriots. And that will answer the question as to what type of people we want to be, what type of country we want, what type of infrastructure we want. Because if we sit down and we put all of those things that I just mentioned, we put them in perspective, then only a few of us, because everybody don't have to sit on the table. I always like to backtrack. projects that I have worked on. There, I call them ECMS, Engineering Construction Management System, where they have a whole system that they have set up. So, and what that system does is, even if I was to leave and we have other folks coming, they're just walking into the system that we have set up. And like I think I mentioned the standard drawing specifications, special provisions, our contract drawing. So, for example, here in the States, there were bridges that were built in the early 1900s. I was working on one quite recently. Those bridges pretty much they're not building them anymore, so they're doing a lot of rehabilitation work to them. So I know things that they envision that tomorrow, we will start using our waterways. So it means that we must build our bridges such that we make access for boats, access for ship, access for whatever. Maybe we'll have refineries and things like that. So those are things that if we can sit down, it is the planning, the designing, before we can even get to the construction, then we start thinking about the resources, how we can assign them to that, then we can go ahead and pursue construction. We'll talk about monitoring, controlling. So the way to do that is for us to go back to the drawing table. We can design what kind of bridges. We have several rivers in Liberia. So based on the span of the rivers, just like you mentioned, the Gibraltar Bridge that you're talking about, think about that bridge, how that bridge was built. Look, the actual bridge, the superstructure, and then think about the substructure and the approaches where you have, I think they used to have parking lot. Bus used to pick up people, drop them off, whatever. Those areas are not even supposed to be within the approaches. They should be far from the approach. Where you have Vartan should be pretty much far from that bridge. So we'll have that clearance, and hopefully we can have ramps to be able to, and then the bridge, like you said, the height of the bridge. So how can we use our waterways? You just mentioned it, if we have our bridges built. So it goes back to our design professionals. Again, what type of country we want, what type of infrastructure we want. So if we do that, all we're doing here, we say Simpor River, this is the type of bridge we're going to build on Simpor River. We just go back. We're not giving our contract to a Chinese firm or a Japanese firm to come and they give us what they want to give us, because we have already designed what we want based on what we imagine. Tomorrow, we'll start using our waterways. So we must be thinking ahead. We must be thinking 50 years from now, 100 years from now, so that we'll be able to move goods and services, not only by ways of road, but we can always also use our waterways to be able to, we can even have seaports along our rivers. We can dredge them, if, and only if we design properly so that we can have clearance to move these waterways of vessels. So I think it goes back to the proper planning and then designing, because that's where everything starts, that concept, the conceptual design. What do we see? What do you visualize? What do you want? And it goes back again to what type of country do we want? Who do we want to be?
So the question that I have for you here is, Mr. William, is it from the engineering school in Liberia, or is it just from human negligence, not having regulatory body trying to regulate these things? Because you found bridges in Liberia at the same height as the river bank.
Mr. William, I want you to look at this bridge. This is the bridge that in my neighborhood here, in the back of my neighborhood here, this is the bridge that was built. This bridge, underneath this bridge, we got yachts of all sizes. We got boats of all sizes. I mean, we are talking about going on while we are on top. It's a marvel. And this is just a little town here in Florida. You want to tell me that our engineers have never talked about a 100-year plan that, listen, if I build this bridge, 50 years from now, the population will have increased, the usage will have increased. We need to do it in a way that it can sustain itself or be viable within the next 100 years. Why we don't think that way?
I think one of the reasons why we're building substandard, one could be lack of vision, two, resources, someone wants to pocket it, you know. So it's just let's just imagine something that we use to cross from one point to another. Just like I said, bridges, you have the actual superstructure, because the bridge deck, and then you have the approaches. So most time when you're driving on the roadway and you you're approaching the bridge, what you see is the actual approach. Yeah, exactly. To the bridge will be built. You can see the grade, then it rises depending on that design. It peaks a little bit and then goes down if that bridge will be used for that. You know, and sometimes the design for 25-year floor, 50-year floor, 75. I mean, not actual floor, but yes, you will have the river or the waterways to increase in terms of the flow, so you will have that height. But the truth is, I think the problem that we have is the lack of vision. Two, resources, we're very limited. We're not thinking big. So, and then again, it goes back to the type of infrastructure that we want. So if we can put all that in context to say, you know, this is what we want for our country, definitely we will start picking up other design parameters to employ so that we can have these tender bridges. But the bridges that we're building, they're substandard. I hope Mr. Eastman can add on that.
Great. let me welcome the great Jimmy Eastman. Welcome, Chief.
Yes.
Why we can see his face?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, man. As you see, I just from an engagement, but I didn't want to miss the show. And I concur with Mr. Williams, especially, you know, there's something in project management we call earned value. And when you estimate a project, okay, every engineer, before you start any project, you got to do an estimate, how much materials, time, all that, labor. Those are the ingredients that go into any project, infrastructure project. Now, sometimes or many times, as Mr. Williams was attest, the project is going over budget. You thought it was going to be a simpler, but you run into an unforeseen challenge or difficulty, and you have to expend more time, more effort, more labor, or more materials. So now you're going over budget. So what to do to prevent this? Because this does occur in engineering all the time. You have to manage the project in a way that as you progress, you check to see if the money you spent of the budget meets the progress of the project. In other words, if you should have halfway been finished with a bridge and you already spent $80 million and it's $100 million, you're already over the limit. So what you have to do is know that you're going over budget, and engage the stakeholders to say, look, this is what we encountered, and we're going to need a new budget to do this. Now, if you don't do that, you end up like a road that they built in Caldwell. You saw that Caldwell road? Is it Caldwell?
Yeah.
A
one-lane, right?
It is ridiculous. I wish Mr. Williams would speak to it. That is a botched project, because no way in 2020 something, or when was it built? I think it was Ellen time they built that.
Yeah,
no way you would build
2016.
Yeah, no way will you build such a tiny a road that is to access vast lands. In other words, it's inadequate. So something like that, it would be better if you just leave the dirt road as it is until you're ready to build it properly. So there's that, and there's also cutting corners, and that is
and
unethical.
that was the point I was going to raise, but you just touched on that. The cutting corner thing in project management.
Yeah, there are people that the things they want to shave some money off the top, so they end up trying to cut corners, and it affects the projects. But to say that we don't do things, okay, look at the Vytown Bridge. Do you remember that Vytown Bridge, the first one before it collapsed? You know how long that Vytown Bridge been there? Of course, I'm not sure it was Liberian engineering built it, or when they was establishing the port, that is when the Americans built that bridge. But that Vytown Bridge lasted over 50, 60 years. Keep me honest here, Mr. Williams. The Vytown Bridge, where you come from Vytown to go to Waterside.
Yeah, I was younger.
Not a Gabriel Tucker Bridge. You haven't been there lately.
Yeah. I saw you mean the most recent one, or the one that was there before?
The one that was there before, the Gabriel Tucker Bridge.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
That bridge lasted a long time. Now, the American embassy during the war announced, broadcasted to everybody that bridge is about to collapse. They knew how long it's been there. They knew how much stress and weight it has handled, and they were correct. Not much. About a couple of months after they made that announcement, it collapsed. They had already forewarned all the American and personnel not to avoid that bridge. So we know how to do things, but there's other challenges that we're finding that we're not doing it right, and that is what we have to overcome. That is what we have to deal with.
But I want to add to
Mr. William, 1 minute. Mr. Eastman, are you driving?
Yes, I'm still coming. I just didn't want to miss it, but I'm still coming from the event that I was at.
How far are you? The reason I'm asking is if you could pull over, because I don't want you driving.
No. I'm not driving now. Okay, I'm pulled over. Oh no.
Okay. We most people don't know who you are. Who is Jimmy Eastman? I know you got right into the stuff.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
Okay, so I've been in engineering for I don't know since the 80s. I worked with LEC transmission and distribution. We the one who when they say the light gone, we switch it off. We also ran the emergency crews to repair various lines. We had about 4 different crews. We had the maintenance crew, the transmission crew, and the construction crew. As a construction and new builds, maintenance take care of various things, and then transmission. The way the voltage is distributed and transmitted, you need special training to deal with the transmission lines. So we had a special transmission crews to deal with those. And then after got captured in the war. I'm a dutiful person, so they found me, Prince Johnson, and grabbed me, but they didn't harm us. They didn't do anything to us, and they just kept us until we could put the light back on. And we put it on, and then eventually I had to leave the country to rescue my family. And after doing so, I came to the U.S. and I got in telecom. So I've been a telecom engineer for a number of years now, and building various telecom, designing. I was into design. Now I'm into more project program management, where we manage several projects at the same time. So that is just a brief history of my background, from power to telecom.
Before you go, your high school.
Wow, but you need both anyway.
1 minute. Your high school, please.
To work anyway. So,
which high school did you go to back home?
I graduated from Peter Harris High School.
Okay, thank God. Finally, somebody not from St. Michael's. Thank you very much. Everybody that comes here from St. Michael's Catholic School. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, just joining us today is set aside to stimulate your mind intellectually. We've been talking politics, gossip, and everything all week long. Fridays are the days set aside for our professional Liberians to come on board and talk to us about issues we are facing. Now, let me go to Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, I was privy to the company of the former Vice President Benny D. Warner, 2012. He spent a week here with me, and he and some American engineers were talking, and the engineer said, Liberia, at the time he visited, does not have any primary role or many primary roles. What's the difference between primary and secondary roles?
Well, there are roadway classification, and those are their terminology. So if someone would say primary, it means that they're the main road. Now, I mean, they would be pretty much, I would say there might be state routes. There might be interstate routes. Secondary road will be, but municipal, maybe township roads and things of that nature. And that's something I wanted to talk about, if you would allow me to.
Please.
And I think if we can start to classify our roads, because that's something that I always hear the municipal people say they're doing this corridor and that corridor. So what we need to do, we need to classify our roads. I mentioned that in a lot of my lives, where we can, it goes back to standard. We can design our road, classify them into, since we have Liberia as a country, we have our national road, we have an inter-county road, and then we can have municipal roads. So the national road, we can say, will be our federal roads. They have different standards. So it means we can use tractor trailer, we use heavy utility equipment on them. And then they would be built, for example, we use rigid pavement. And even when we're using asphalt, beneath the asphalt, we still carry something rigid beneath the base. We have rebars to give some type of rigidity. Then our inter-county roads can be, to an extent, somewhat lesser standard, less than the national road. And then our municipal roads, we know that we won't use heavy trucks on them, because we see them around where we live now. We have smaller roads. You wouldn't even see tractor trailer actually plowing those roads. So to answer the question, if we can put those statements together and say, this is what we're going to do, our national roads, and then what we can do too, then we can have north, southbound, east, west, and then we can number them. For example, we say if we're using north-south, maybe we can use odd numbers. So anybody get on the route with no based on the fact that we can color them too. So we're just mimicking what we see here. We can color them, since they are national roads, we give them color codes. Inter-county road, we know we're on county roads. We can maybe white and black, give it that black background. And then our municipal roads. And that's how, in fact, what we do again, we take the responsibility from the Ministry of Public Works proper.
Now you're talking.
Smaller Department of Public Works within the those municipalities that will be responsible for smaller bridges. So what we're doing again, then we can design those national road bridges, because roadway and bridges or bridge construction, they're two different areas. So once we create those standards, then we come to our intercounty, same way. So if we say, for example, somewhere in Bone County, there's a route, and we want to build a bridge, and we know it's a county, we can just go and pull up our county design, and based on the span of the river or the span of the bridge, like Mr. Eastman just said, because of stakeholders all involved, people talking about resources. But yes, I think we got to consider the life cycle of our bridges and things that we build. So if we consider all those standards, then we come back again to the municipal. So those municipalities will be responsible for the smaller roads. Our counties will be responsible for the county roads. Then the national government will be responsible. Now, in order for us to solidify our standards, we need labs, laboratories for our construction materials. because those are things that I believe we don't even take into consideration. So we have people selling and giving us all kinds of materials, because everything that we're doing in engineering starts from the lab.
Yep.
We have specimens, we test them before we bring them out. So the question, even we talk about the bridge, an actual bridge that is built has already been built in the lab. We tested it, and all we're doing, we're just taking what we have designed, what we've tested, we're taking that drawing and we're translating it into an actual bridge. So we already know, how much the bridge is going to cost. Material costs may improve based on the environment and things like that, based on where we're procuring the material from. So those are things that we need to put in place. And that's the department responsibility. It goes back again to what type of people we want to be, what type of country we want. So if we create those standards, all we do, we can go to sleep. Our people are following through with our standard drawings, they're following through with our materials, because the most universal construction material is concrete or Portland cement.
Yep.
We get concrete when we mix the fine aggregate with coarse aggregate. We reinforce it when we add rebars. Then we talk about steel. So all we're doing now, the accredited bodies that I'm talking about, we have our Institute of Steel Construction. So we're studying our steel. Hopefully we can create our own steel. We have even with the coarse aggregate, we got people at American Concrete Institute, our mixed design. What are the design for our pavement, rigid pavement? It's a 5,000 PSI, 4,000 PSI, based on the design. So just building is one thing, but we have to set the standard. Then we can take the standard that we have set, we can make it applicable to what we are building. Then follow by maintenance, because we have to make sure that we are maintaining. We cannot just build a bridge or build a road and leave the road, without maintenance. So those are things that we need. But I think that we set the standard, national road, county road, municipal road. That would take away from, in fact, the primary that you're talking about and secondary road. But that's just what it is.
Wow, Jimmy.
Wow, this is brilliant.
When I go to the construction site, I see civil engineers, I see mechanical engineers, then I see electrical engineers. These are three different group of folks working hand in hand to make this work. Where do you come in as an electrical engineer? I want to build a bridge. I want to redo it. How does that work?
I don't know if you're going to need me to build a bridge.
Yeah.
But if you want to connect a network, what I'm sure Mr. Gay would appreciate, if you want to design and build a network, that's when I come in. Of late, data centers are going up, and in data centers, we have what we call it low voltage. Yep. Now, high voltage is where you're bringing in something like a 440 or 1.2 kV circuit. But low voltage is like maybe a 48 and less volts, okay? Yep. A lot of systems that like your building monitoring systems, your electrical performance monitoring systems, all of these operate on lower voltage. And those things are essential because they do all the monitoring, all the alarms, all the signals that you get to know that things are functioning the way they are supposed to be functioning are run through these control systems. And so for data centers, you want somebody who is a master in low voltage configuration, engineering, and installation. Okay, so but for highway construction, now we do partner with highway when we have street lights that have to go. A lot of times we have to run cables underneath the bridges and underneath the highways. So right now we're doing a relocation. You guys heard of the overpass that is being built?
Yes.
We have to relocate the power line and the telecom lines over there. In other words, you have to move it so they can do the bridge work, and that means you have to
go to the conduit now.
Conduit or whatever. Sometimes you can do it aerially if you can extend it further inland. Yeah, but the idea is that we do work in consult with the civil engineers, and most projects, I can tell you straight up, civil engineers usually in charge of the entire projects, but they have mechanical, they have electrical, all working on various plans.
Absolutely.
But usually this is the civil guy who is coordinating everything. That's how it's usually done on most of the sites I've worked on.
That's the standard, because even when I contracted with Microsoft, Turner was the construction company in charge, and we were the networking guys that did the infrastructure work of the data center, full data center for Microsoft. Always construction in charge and the rest, because this set the tone.
Yeah,
Mr. Williams, I mean, we talk about an advanced country like here, because I know here parts of Miami, the bridges are built in a way that, let's say the old bridges, right? So what they have done is they got something now they call it's the old system, but it's called the drawbridge, right? At a certain time when the big boats are coming in and the bridge is low, they have a way of the bridge opening, drawbridge opens, and then the yacht go through, and then it comes back down. What kind of engineering goes into stuff like that? Is quite something to see when when the bridge is going up.
Oh, well, just like you alluded to, I think a lot of these projects you have several engineers from different backgrounds that are working on these big mega projects. You have electrical, you have computer engineering, engineers that are working on this, mechanical engineers that are working, simultaneously. They're all working together. So when it comes, because that's the mechanical part of a bridge that's been designed. I mean, it's already brought to the forefront that, of course, it is that mechanical, and then the signal. Because sometimes you have. I'm not even sure. That's not something I have vast knowledge in, but I would assume that a lot of these bridges may have sensors that detects the boat or whatever coming, or they have someone in there that monitors it. So as the vessel approaches the bridge, it opens up and things like that. But I strongly believe that a lot of those bridges are being designed, and just like Mr. Eastman said, by both mechanical, civil, and as well as computer engineers. So they all work together.
Excellent, Mr. Nagbe. I'm being educated here. My only greatest mechanical engineering I have ever succeeded in was lifting up the spoon and where it reaches and my mouth open. That's the kind of mechanical engineering. That's the kind of engineering that I have succeeded in. Any question for either Mr. Eastman in the electrical engineering, Mr. Williams, right? Kind of mechanical or civil engineering.
Right. Well, let me welcome Mr. Eastman. Jimmy, it's good to see you, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, in Liberia, Mr. Williams, you say you did some visual assessments, and you were describing some of the things you saw, the barriers, lack of attenuation, all that stuff. Are you able to, in a very short guesstimate, ballpark, the kind of overhaul that is required to bring us into the 21st century, given the kind of engineering that you saw? I mean, Jimmy was talking about the Waterside Bridge, and I looked it up here. It was built in 1936, 37. So that's over 90 years old, and yeah. And so, I mean, I remember when the Garguah Bridge was being built, we were in high school then. It was a big deal. But now if you look at it and you've seen other places, then you say, what did we do here? So I'm just wondering, if you were to give a guesstimate, and Jimmy, you can chime in as well. Do we need to start everything from scratch to bring us to the 21st century, or is there a chance we could build upon some of the existing infrastructure that we have in Liberia? You're talking about the roads, the bridges, the airports, even Jimmy, who was working at LEC, all these, because the challenges we face, we think they're enormous. And sometimes I think about it, I don't know where to start. Sometimes we come here, we beat on President Walker and all of that, but we have to also admit that, is Liberia the problem like a balloon? You hold it in one place, it pops out in the other place. It's just too many things coming at you at once. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So,
I love to answer that question, man. Anyway, you ask Mr. Williams, I love it because it's a beautiful question. It's a beautiful question. The first thing before we have to do anything is make sure we have an actual expert doing the job. That has been half the problem. We have people in charge of telecom know nothing about telecom. They don't know the management side. They don't know the engineering side. They don't hardly know the sales side. Okay. And if you don't have an expert doing the job, it's going to fall short. Let me give you a common example. You notice that now we have more electricity availability in Liberia now. That I gotta commend that. And you know why? Because that guy who they just made managing director, he understands the CLSG whole infrastructure and output. He knows how he can tap into that line and benefit our grid, because actually we were part and parcel of that whole idea.
You're telling me we were giving money captain $17,000 a month for nothing?
He doesn't. He's not an engineer.
He's not an engineer.
He's not. He's a businessman. And I know him personally, so I don't have nothing against him. But you have to put the requisite expertise into these projects. And then when you talk about we definitely need to salvage what we already have. We don't have that money to say build from scratch. Okay, we need to save places like Hotel Africa. We need to save it. Ducor, we need to save it. Those roads that are right now going to wreck, we need to patch them, and then after that, then we can build new. But we have to learn to maintain, because maintenance, as Mr. Williams pointed out, is 50% of the efficiency of any project. You got to maintain it, unless you will be at square one again. So I'll stop right there and let Mr. Williams continue.
Yeah, I have my perspective on that. I would say goes back to the country. If you talk about Liberia, mostly we focus on Monrovia and its environs. So in my perspective, I think you touched on it a little bit. We need to decongest the city, to be able to get some work done. And it's going to take a lot of planning again, a lot of resources, a lot of strategic planning. The problem we have, we want to fix it now. And if we are true patriot of the country, and we can talk about all the engineering, we talk about the construction, we talk about someone that I think what's really important again is going back to the drawing table to have a national blueprint of how we want to fix this. Yes, there's a way to fix it. And we can do it by actually thinking about a way in which we can devise a plan to build a new city. Because Monrovia was actually built for, I believe, from studies, I believe 300,000 plus individual. and see how overwhelmed the city is. The infrastructure was not built to tolerate the number of people that she's tolerating, and it cannot even tolerate those people. People are building everywhere. We overusing what we have. In fact, they're not built up to par, and then we're using them. We're stressing them. So what we need to start thinking about is to actually develop a strategic plan as to how we can start depopulating the existing city that we have. How can we do that? We can divert some of the infrastructure, the low our ministries and things like we can start diverting them, start building subdivisions, we start building, and then start relocating them. We can start putting money into those things. Then we can come back eventually. For example, West Point, we don't need people down there. We don't need people all in Yucatan. We don't need people all building the alleyway. So I think those are things that we really need to go down to see how we can design, we can plan properly, design this blueprint, and then we can take it from there. And then eventually we can start fixing the problem that we have. But to see an existing city, to build an area that is overly populated and that we don't have the strategic the know-how, the proper plan and resources to do it, it's just a lost battle. So I think that's exactly what we need to do first. How we can start subdividing, new areas and start diverting the, just that congestion. We can lay emphasis on how we can, restore what we have. Otherwise, we will continue to wallow in this problem that we have.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen,
if I may,
1 minute. Ladies and gentlemen, please send in your comments. I'm reading them. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a brain teaser here. I mean, this one here, you live in a city. The city that was built for 300,000 folks. Yesterday, I looked at the number. The census says like Monrovia has 1.73 million people.
Almost 2 million.
That's almost 2 million people.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the previous point he made earlier about, the lack of ability to forecast, and anticipate the future. Yeah, it's the capital city. The population is going to grow anyhow, but we didn't anticipate that, and so Liberia is bursting at the seams. I mean, Monrovia. Everybody wants to live in Monrovia now.
Mr. Gay, you have some.
Yeah, so here's what I want to add to what Mr. Eastman and Mr. Williams said, right? So all of what they have described is true. But the way to solve this problem also is to find the money. And the money is in Liberia, but we are not taking the money and putting it to or prioritizing the most important things, right? Take, for example, the road fund. The road fund being collected every day. They're collecting road fund. Every time you go to the gas pump to buy gas, the money is being collected for road fund. But the money does not go towards road fund. It goes in individual pockets. Take, for example, if there's 9 or 10 cents on every gallon, do the math. The amount of gallon of gas that's sold per day, per week, per month, per year. 10 cents. You may think that's small money, but 10 cents, that's a lot of money on every gallon of gasoline. That's a lot of money. The number one consumed product in Liberia outside of rice is petroleum product. Outside of rice, the number one consumed product in Liberia is petroleum product. So if we're getting 10 cents on each gallon for road funding, then why are we struggling to build our road, to maintain our road? Because every day the money is being collected. So to Mr. Eastman's point, putting the wrong folks in position, and to Mr. Williams' point, not having the proper resources, but we have the money there, right? Our IA is supposed to be generating revenue. LEC, Mr. Eastman can attest to that, supposed to be generating revenue. NPA supposed to be generating revenue. LTA. But guess what? These are entities that are parasites to the Liberian government. Every year, at least $40 to $41 million goes to LEC. LEC told us they have over 200,000 subscriber customers. If you just take a average and say every person paid $50 US per month, that's over $100,000 per year. That's over $100,000 per year.
You mean 100 million?
If we not doing these things to generate revenue from these entities, then we're not doing our job. It goes back to proper planning, proper execution. If you don't plan, you will not execute. And Liberia, tap into your expertise. Every time I listen to Mr. Eastman, it's like a breath of fresh air. The wealth of knowledge this man has in the field. I have a background in telecommunications myself, but not equal to him. I started as a regular tech in the field, service technician, right? And worked my way up. But the amount of Liberians that we have in this country and across the globe with expertise in different disciplines, tap into that. Just stop the party, the partisanship or political friendship. If the person is not part of your political party, they are not going to be called upon to give the government idea. We are all not seeking government job, but we can provide idea, way forward for our nation through consultancy or any other means. Look, Liberia deserves better. Put your political feeling aside. Put the people who have the expertise in the rightful jobs for our country to go forward. This whole nonsense about, oh, he's not part of my political party, so I don't want to listen to him. And you put in people in position who have zero knowledge of the area. Technical field need technical expert in the field. This is not something you can Google. You can't Google expertise in telecommunication, nor in civil engineering, nor in IT. You cannot Google your way through this. Even if you bring AI, it will not help you. You need people with the qualification, the experience, the exposure to technological advancement that are living witness of things. Because even in our field, you can read a book, but when you start to put it into actions, it's different. And so that's the thing. I just want to, add that other part that Mr. Gayman.
Good. Thank you.
I want to bolster what Mr. Gay is saying. We have to make our SOEs, as refer to them, right?
Yes.
Yep.
We have to make our SOEs more efficient. There's issues been wrong with LEC for a long time, but I'm not going to go into the details. But definitely our SOEs have to be more efficient, and because we don't have a lot of resources, so the ones we have to make them work properly. And for them to work properly, as both Williams and Gay just said, it takes proper planning. And then sometimes when you plan again, if you try something that doesn't work, you regroup and you execute again. It takes time to fix systems sometimes. Yep. It's like a dam. Who said it? So who gave the analogy of a dam? When you plug this hole, then the other hole busts. Then you plug that hole. So sometimes to get these SOEs work efficiently, it's going to take a series of overhauls. But we can do it. It has been done before. In fact, one of the recommendations to Liberia is to make our institutions more efficient. That is one of the first things. So you can do your political appointee. I'm not looking at that, but that person needs to make that institution more viable, more efficient, because everybody is depending on that. So if we're not improving our systems, we will continually be at this level. And Mr. Williams talked about a plan. Yes, we do need a national plan. Why do we need a national plan? You need to work under a certain framework. At least if you want to build a mansion or you want to build a one-story house. You need a framework under which we say, okay, this is what we're going to working toward, and we'll start building it small, doing this, doing that. So we have a framework, a national plan. That is number one thing we need. With a national plan, everybody know what they're working toward, and then we need a way of measuring whether we are achieving making strides or not, because that is just as important as having a national plan, is to measure whether or not you're achieving those things. And if you're not, then you have to make some changes. So I think Liberia and nowadays with the youth, the smart youth that we have, all we have to do is give them a chance to see, to be professional and to see how things are supposed to work, and they will imitate the same. So I'm sorry I have to go, guys.
It's all right. Yeah, keep listening. We'll need
we appreciate
before
the time, sir.
Before you go, real quick, answer this then, Mr. Williams.
Okay.
I want to talk about engineering now. We want to talk about the property identification system. Because Liberia, as you can see, we are sprawling, right? It's a sprawling city, just built anywhere. We are not building vertically, okay? We are not making use of speciation. So it's sprawling, it's just built anywhere. We don't have a property ID system. You can't say, come to 25 Eastmore Street, this is where I am. We don't have property identification.
Right.
So nobody have put this thing. How does it work? Those of you who are in engineering, because this is city planning, this is all that. They're all engineering.
Yeah. I'm going to leave that with a civil engineer there. But when I was, we have something called zoning. Zoning has gone down. We had zoning. You couldn't build certain places. Every street is supposed to have an alley. And you're not supposed to build in the alley. But I bet you Mr. Williams would love to expound on this topic. That's one of the issues we do have. But we have put it in place before. Maybe we need now to revisit it to see how we can implement it. Because now, as you know, what's going on, what's the other place they were breaking down? To Hotel Africa?
Yeah.
They have to go.
How do you call the place? The market ground there, red light. We're breaking out all the buildings. Yes.
Yeah, there's some humanitarian issues involved. As much as you need to move people out of those alleyways and those byways, but there are humanitarian people. Where will these people go? Well, so you have to be sensitive to the plight of the people. So yes, we have it. Like I said, I'm going to let Mr. Williams talk about it. But the way things have evolved, now we have to find a place to put them. I'll stop you right here. I remember when they relocated. You know what they call Nukuta?
Yes.
They relocated people that they weren't there before. I think they were doing some building in it wasn't Waterside. It wasn't LEC. And they had to relocate those people to Nuku Town, but the people their livelihood comes from the sea. So they didn't want to locate them somewhere they couldn't earn a livelihood. But we've done this before. It's just that it's challenging and it's hard. But definitely we have to get our zoning laws back working the way they should. So I totally agree.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
All right.
Well, I know you are a civil engineer, but we're talking about city planning here, because without city planning, your work, because you got to know where the roads are, where you want to build a road, from where to where. Like you're talking about different highway, east to west, south, north, state road, county road, city road, and all that. It's getting out of hand. I mean, you go to Monrovia now, you don't know where Monrovia ends, Westman Road begins. I mean, it's sprawling. There's no identification.
Thank you for that opportunity to expound or expand on that. I think that, again, it goes back to same thing, zoning code and regulation. It's something that I have talked about with professionals in Liberia from time to time, and they'll tell me, "Oh, we had all that stuff on the books, back in the days, like you had Stephen Talbot Estate, you have they subdivided a lot of the things. To be honest, you have, for example, along the roadway, you had shoes factory, they had aluminum factory, they have biscuit factory. So those are commercial areas or industrial areas, right? And then beyond them, they have residential properties. So what happened after the war? I'm not trying to get political. I think everything just went haywire. People started building all over the place. And we didn't take the time. Those who are, there's a saying that says that it takes a village to raise it. If the village is crazy, the village will produce crazy children. Over the years, Liberia has been producing crazy people. And even the people that are in the upper echelon, because they don't love the country, don't care about the country. So we say we have things on the book, but we're not enforcing them. We have city planning. I'm pretty sure we've had this discussion where they'll say, oh yeah, we had it on the book. Why we will wait until people build in these alleyways, then we can come back and say we demolishing these properties. I think this is something that should have been done. Now we find ourselves in the situation that we're in. It can be addressed, but we have a long way to go. The way to address it, go back to the original blueprint that you had. What was the city like? What was it designed for? Let's go back to that. Then but we need an alternative plan. The plan is, again, like I was saying, we have to decongest the city. How do we do it? We have to build something affordable for these people. Where the money is going to come from. You're paying your representative and your senator. Those people are they pocketing all the money. So we get whatever we have, wherever we get the resources from, and start building affordable homes somewhere outside Monrovia. Could be in Nagbe County, could be in Banga. But at the same time, we do that, then it means that we have to create opportunity for jobs. We have to build hospitals. We have to build clinics. We have to build industries where they will work. So there's a lot of factors to consider in doing that. But I think if we can address those issues, then we'll be on our way to mitigating the problem that we have. But until that's addressed, I don't think we'll be able to do it. So it's just plain and simple. Let's find a way how we can build affordable homes somewhere, build new cities, even if they're not cities. Let's start gradually. We can start with West Point. We can go and start with, go down Central Street or Gillis Street. The short time I was there. Go Waterside, go Douala. So everybody is heavily concentrated in the area because this is where they get their livelihood. So it's all part of the engineering process. How we can decongest the city, but to do that, affordable homes, jobs, clinics, hospitals. So we need a visionary leader, one who is concerned about the country, concerned about how people, who wants to see the country be better, who's about legacy. It's not about what we can get now. Because 6 years cannot do this. 12 years cannot do this. 18 years can't do this. And this might be 30, 50 years from now. So we need proper planning. We have to be strategic. If we're not strategic, it's not going to happen. That's just the way I see it, but it's possible. Let's go back to the original blueprint. But first, we must identify the alternative solutions to resettle these people, and then we can come and start fixing things up. That's how I look at it.
Mr. Nagbe, I want you to chime in on this one before I go back to Mr. Williams. I want you to be thinking on the next question for me is, everybody say we got engineers, we got builders in Liberia, but we are not building vertically. So we're not making use of space. You go to Hong Kong and other places that they don't have any room at all, and they got as many people living on the upper echelon as it is people living on the ground. Victor, let's talk about the social impact. This city was built for 300,000 people. Now we got 1.7 million people, right? Those of you that from the progressive that were talking about change, you are different. Then there was another group that came after you that just beat the war drum. We need to get rid of Doe at all costs, whether it doesn't matter, let's get rid of him, bring the war, get him out. They never forecasted in any sense of the word that, listen, what would be the consequences of a war, total breakdown? Because during the 70s, we already booked the rural push and urban draw, right? Monrovia is the republic. Everything happens in Monrovia. So Monrovia is the urban city that draws everybody from Grand G to Maryland, everybody, right? They never forecast that, listen, if the war comes, everybody's going to come to the one place.
Yeah. I mean, I'm aware of workers from, far-flung places like Harper. Sometimes, it takes them 2 weeks to travel from there to come around after their paycheck, If you're out of Monrovia, it's like you're cut off, especially, you're somewhere in the southeast, and so everybody, life is happening in Monrovia. If you're not in Monrovia, except in recent times now, Kakata, Ganta, these places began to offer alternatives to Monrovia. But for a very long time, Monrovia was the place to be if you wanted to, wanted high life and all that stuff. So I mean, I haven't gone down to the southeast since I think 85 or so. So I don't know what life is exactly like there now, but I can almost imagine. Yeah. And so Monrovia is a draw. Everybody wants to come to Monrovia. I do remember though, during the Samuel Doe time, President Doe, there was talk of relocating, the capital to Banga, it being a central, site, central location. That plan, was toyed with for a while, because I think at the time people were anticipating, a much well drawn out city planning, compared to what we have now in Monrovia. But in any case, it just really boggles my mind that we don't seem to plan with anticipation. If we're going to grow, I mean, I can almost tell you 20 years from now, we will not be 5.6, 5.7 million people. So we have to anticipate these things and make provisions, but we're not. And so, I'm just really listening to my young brother here and Jimmy, and I'm just taking it all in, and so I want to thank him. I'm jumping off at this stage. I want to thank you. It's been wonderful talking to you, Mr. Williams, and all the best. I hope you come back again, and also I hope you'll find somehow some way to impact our country. I respect and admire your passion, your love for country. I mean, it sounds like you do well here without necessarily bothering yourself. But yet, because of your love for country home, you seem to be drawn there and trying to find a way to help. So I my hats off to you, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. William. I really appreciate you. If you can give me just 15 more minutes of your time, I will do well here. I know we call you for an hour. You may have way more than that. But let's talk about I'm in the Tingo Village area. I don't know if you're quite familiar with the Tingo Village.
Where's that at?
When you are going towards they're going towards Marshall and all that other areas.
Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah. Right after the war, I purchased some properties there, and it was like a vast land. Nobody basically was there. Just a few houses. Yeah. Last February when I went, I could barely get back into my own property. People have built everywhere. I mean, even on the street.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing we are talking about here, city planning, engineer. How does that make your work difficult as a civil engineer, because you got to deal with water, a sewage system, you got to deal with public utilities. How do we deal with public utilities? How can we adequately deal with public utilities?
But see, the first thing, I think you alluded to that, city planning. For Liberia, we have a Department of Public Works that works, I believe, strongly with, I don't know if they work with the city planning You know, I want to speak with respect to Liberia. Before a building is, if you acquire land, you know, to erect the structure, you have to meet with the city, you know, check out the ordinance or ordinances before that, because normally the city provides a lot of the roadway would carry the I guess the water main, and from the water main, then you can do, that is the sewer ladder. You can run a line from the water main, it comes to your house. So they already know to plan those things along the roadway, and if we plan it properly, so we know exactly where you can even buy your own property. We can tell you where to situate your property, and based on the location, we'll be able to tell you what type of building you can build at that particular. Just because you've acquired the land, you're the owner of the land, doesn't give you the right to just build whatever you can build. That's one thing I think we don't. Areas should be, we can demarcate them and say this area will be more of a residential. This area, usually the front properties are usually commercial, and then the women have industrial. So it depends on the city and the city planners, what they have designed in terms of their code and things like that, what's relevant and necessary for a particular area based on the zoning code and regulations. And when it comes to, because also like you just said, the, you know, sewer lateral, water, even electricity, all of those things are a factor into the city planning, you know, where we, back in the days, now we have solar panel and all that stuff. So we can see that some of those problems that we had back in the day to procure a whole, like build a whole power plant, something like that to supply, we really don't need that because we have less of stress. But yes, excuse me, I think it is the city planner in conjunction with the Department of Public Works will be their responsibility, and that municipality or the county Department of Public Works should be responsible to create and design the proper planning for whatever is going to be built. I heard you talk about people are using air spaces and other, yes. So it means that they already, like he said, we got a forecast. So if we have a particular property in the area again that was procured, we also have within our design plan to see, okay, this property will only be used for X, Y, Z, or can only be used for X, Y, Z. And these are the type of, you know, because not only are you going to put a property on it, think about all of your sewer lines, think about the septic, think about the wastewater. There's some areas we just need open space. You know, some area we need retention basin, because drainage plays a major role in infrastructure development. And that's one thing, even when now we'll take it back to our roads. So people, for example, I saw the area you're talking about, people building areas, some of the areas are wetland. You know, you're not really supposed to be able to build there, but people are building it. So those are things that we need to consider based on that particular municipality or the city zoning code and regulations.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking. When you hear someone in Monrovia tells you that they work for the Department of City Planning, it is not just a title. It is a major obligation, technical in nature, highly educative in nature. You can't just go there because you campaign for the president, or the president is your nephew or your cousin or your friend, and they appoint you to these positions. City planning is a serious stuff. City planning is a serious stuff. Let me welcome Sarah. Sarah, we got 15 more minutes, so thank you for just coming in. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I've been so busy since this morning.
Listen, we know who you are. The queen is always busy. I know
Well,
you.
But
your
you can let me finish.
manicure, your pedicure, your facial. We know what the queen goes
You
through.
can let me finish. Let me work.
I want to put you on full blast.
I just want to say hello to the guests and I want to say thank you to the guests for coming on. I was listening to the show and I listened to a lot of good things that he was saying. So I just want to say thank you for coming on and enlightening our people about some of the things that our country really need. It's a lot of challenges we have to face and to move forward. So I just want to say thank you. I'm sorry I came on late, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Mr. Williams, in the short time we have remaining, I took someone to Liberia and they did a complete assessment of the city, and they just told the U.S. ambassador at the time, this city is beyond repair. You will spend more money patching up this city, you might well just start from scratch somewhere else. And she suggested that we have Monroe remain as is to be the commercial city. And you actually need to build a political or capital somewhere where you can start fresh. Even if it's small, you can build the right way. And another thing that she suggested in decongesting the city was, why you have all these ministries in one town? Why don't you take the Ministry of Agriculture with maybe 4,000 positions, take it to Lofa, and that would draw 4, 5, 10,000 workers there. Take fishery to Bassa, take that one, and keep the central bank and few of those and the foreign ministry in the capital. And just that would, if you take 4 ministries out of Monrovia into the 4 major counties, you're talking about moving about close to 100,000 people out of there instantly. What do you think about that idea? I know you know, from an engineering standpoint.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's something that's happening here now, even in the States, where, you know, because of how the population has increased and is increasing, transportation engineers are constantly trying to design strategy to mitigate those impact, even from travel or for traveling purposes, where you have more traffic because you have more people. So we have to be able, in order to do that, again, we have to design something. So what they're doing here, they're trying to discourage people from going, everybody going, for example, you leave your house, and everybody may be going down. For example, if I live in Delaware, and if I have to go Dover, and I'm going to Dover with everybody else, it means that, oh yeah, of course, in the morning we'll have a lot of traffic. So what do we do to reduce the impact? We can do a couple of things, just like you alluded to. Of course, when I went to Liberia, I did a small assessment of the streets in Monrovia. When I was younger, I actually walked the street of Broad Street, somewhere around where you have what is that called? The island. What is it called? Where you have the same. I was very discouraged.
Providence Island.
Providence Island. I was discouraged with the pavement condition, just the optic, man. It looked really, really, really bad. And the buildings there, I mean, everybody just all over the place. So it's true. I think the way to do it is to really, really start to think about building new cities. But again, you know, I'm going to think about the resources involved, and it's going to require people who have love the country. I try to stay far from politics, but this will only happen if we have people who selfless, people about the masses, people who are not by themselves, who want to see the country thrive, grow, so they should be able to compete with our counterparts. They're like we've been around for so long. How will we be able to build new cities if we're not making any effort to raise the revenue? There are projects here in America or in the Western world that when they start planning and budgeting, it takes years, sometimes 20 years. And you see how every 4 years, that project that's at the bottom comes up front. So we need to start thinking about a strategic. It goes back to the same. We keep going back and forth, Mr. Gayman. We keep going back and forth because we can talk about building the road, building the new city. Well, yeah, it's possible, but how can we do that if we're not making room to create the opportunity to do so? Because we can do that with our resources. You know what I mean? And when they say the financial resource, when in fact we have the natural resources, but we're going to borrow resources from people, or we're giving our resources to people to come and build for us. So it goes back again to the same question as to who do we want to be, what type of country we want, what it means to be a Liberian. So we're true Liberian. Definitely, we need to leave this old city, and I agree with that perspective, and start building new cities. But we need alternative way to start with our people first, because if we're moving our people, they need somewhere to stay, they need jobs, they will get sick, they need hospital, they need schools, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we need. So those are things that I think we would need to take into consideration.
Wow. Sarah, we got 5 minutes with our guest. Any question? I know you've been listening.
Yeah. I heard you talk, Mr. William. Thank you again for coming on. I heard you say a lot of good things about in order for us to accomplish all of these things, we actually need a very good leader. We need resources, we need planning and all of that. But I want you to speak to our voters for a second, because our country, in order for it to move forward and for us to have these cities and proper planning, we need a transformational leader. We need somebody who's thinking big. Do you really think this current leadership and maybe the next 2-3 generations of leaders to come, do you think anything?
You are breaking up, Sarah. Sarah, we can't hear you. The girl now break the microphone. We can't hear you. We cannot hear you.
No, so I was saying for him to speak to our Liberian voters for a minute and just talk to them, that this is what we need for our country. What level of leaders? Because definitely these current leaders we have seen have definitely not, they have not, be able to perform the task. So what should Liberian people be looking up to in terms of leaders for a way forward? I just want him to talk to the voters for a minute.
He's not a politician. The man here is an engineer.
I can give him.
He's not a politician. Just to pull his heart out.
I could give my sincere take on that. As you can see beneath that, I'm the founder and visionary of the We Too Are Liberians movement podcast, or platform, or movement. And what we believe that the problem that Liberia has is politics, we say is one, but it's deeply rooted in the quality of persons that the country has produced and is still producing. So we believe that the way forward for a change in Liberia is a new mindset. It's a new thought process. Because our people are not making you're talking about voters. They're not making decisions based on ideology. People make decisions based on sentiment, based on tribal affiliation, and things of that nature. So the first thing we need to do is to start dealing with the minds of the people, to re-educate them, because you'll be surprised. Even the people that you find in those high seats, they themselves, they need a renewing of the mind. So until we can retweak the minds of our people to begin to see themselves far from beggars, because a lot of our people have been taught to be beggars, to be on the receiving end. So the decision that they don't make the decision for the next 20, 30 years for what they can get now. So how can our people, in fact, start thinking for themselves? Because people are thinking for them. People make a decision for them. The way to think for yourself is to empower them. So that first, in fact, I think Maslow hierarchy says it, food, clothing, and shelter. People are just looking for food, clothing, and where they can sleep. But when it comes to like self-actualizing, to know who they are, why they're here, all that stuff. So if they can get to that place, we can empower people to get to that place, then they can start making decisions. They can start thinking for themselves to make wise decisions, But my take here is, to our people, I think we need to start thinking outside the box, thinking beyond self, and think for the masses. Like we've had leaders around Africa. Nelson Mandela did it. Thomas Sankara did it. Kwame Nkrumah did it. So those are the things that we need to start teaching. That's why we teach. We're teaching our people new ways to think, stay far from politics. You know what I mean? People-centered, people first. Be a national and love for country. If we can do that, then I think, I don't know if Mr. Gayman, what's your perspective on that?
Well, like I said yesterday, I was in the midst of some policymakers, and one person asked why Cuba have been able to withstand everything that was put on them, and they were not able to overthrow Fidel Castro. And the gentleman says that when the one particular weapon they have in their arsenal, they have 100% literacy rate. With everybody learning to read and write, it is almost difficult to convince them to fight them against themselves. It is easier in a country where the literacy rate is barely 48%. And of those who can write, maybe half of that 48, which is 24%, can actually comprehend what they read. And out of that 24%, those who can actually comprehend, maybe half of that. So now we're to 12% that can actually read, write, comprehend, and critically think. So Liberia's population that can critically think, that means read, write, and comprehend, is only 12%. That means, yes, that means 88% of the Liberian population is gullible to almost anything you tell them, as evidenced by our rallies and when you get on these platforms and say anything against somebody that they like, even if the person is abusing them, it's like they suffer from the Stockholm syndrome. They will rather sympathize with the abuser than agree with you who telling them the truth.
Right.
So this is where we are. It doesn't matter who, to Mr. Williams, that we make you president to the Liberia. There's nothing you can do when 90% of the resources going to ourselves, pockets, payroll, and benefits. There's nothing you can do with 10% or 20% of income in Liberia to develop a nation as huge as Liberia is. So it will take a fundamental seismic shift. Something have to happen. Like maybe if I became president, I would say we are definitely going to make public education the entire scope free and mandatory. Police going to the homes at night and making sure that no child stays home from school. And that will happen for about 10 years. Absolute military say, listen, there will be no child at home when it comes to 7 o'clock in the morning. No child. Everybody going to get public education, mandatory education for everybody. Anything less of that, we are breeding uneducated people, breeding more and more and more. And sooner or later, the uneducated and illiterate will outpass the few that can read and write. And they will just keep electing themselves over and over and over. And democracy is a numbers game.
But I think
no matter what you say, if they are more than you, they will win every day. So you can talk about
and that's why the quality of education, because everybody can get into academics. And I think if we can subdivide the way we educate our people and train them. Because some can be into technical skill vocational schools, and some can go academic. Because that's the problem I think we have in Liberia, where everybody, to a large extent, so you have typically the University of Liberia that's producing, not to put a disdain on the University of Liberia, but think about the quality of education that the typical, you just said it, individual is receiving from an institution that's underfunded, does not even have the resources, the adequate resources, lab, laboratory. So we cannot even just talk about just education, but the quality of our primary schools, because that foundation you talk about. So if we can start teaching them from that lower level before even the come up, because the typical, for example, can you imagine you have a young man trying to teach at the university and cannot even conjugate verb? He cannot do simple arithmetic. But what he sees here is the way of life, or just want to be a representative or a senator. So he would do everything. So there are other factors to consider, the moral values. You know what I mean? Those are things that are lacking. So those things they are becoming extinct. We need to start teaching our children those things. Our culture, we need to bring them back. So until we can address those things, Mr. Gayman, I think we'll still be fighting a losing battle. People made sacrifices for us to be where we are. Some of the schools that we went to today, people bled and died. So we need those types of people. If Liberia can start to produce individuals who will be ready to make those sacrifices, then we will get somewhere. Otherwise, I think we will continue to be in the same problem way.
Thank you very much. We almost out of time. We got 6 minutes. Your party comment, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I think it was a great opportunity. I expected more technical questions because there were some things that I wanted to really expand on, because...
Come on back. When you have time, let us know.
Hopefully I'll come back. We can talk about the department itself, what's required to strengthen, our engineering construction management system in Liberia, strengthen the infrastructure, even the materials, where we're getting our materials from, our labs, our plants, and things like that. Those are some of the things I really want to take a deep dive into, because until we do that, we will continue to have this country plunge in the trash. So yes, it's certainly an opportunity. It's a great privilege to be here, to share, time and space to talk about some of the problems that are really concerning in the country. So I look forward to coming back to share one or two and to give insight as it relates to construction, civil engineering, as well as project management. Thank you very much for having me.
Great. I think maybe next Friday or the next Friday we'll call you and see where your schedule have you. And we'd love to have you come back and, like you said, delve into the weeds. The great thing about you is that you are not just a guy with an engineering degree. You are certified. You got a degree in project management. You got a degree in all of those things that lead up to the whole. So it's the whole package, and we'd love to have you back. I want to say thank you to Telvi Cole for making the connections. We are glad that she brought you on. We'll be calling you back. Thank you very much on behalf of the platform. Sarah, you want to say something to our panelist before he leaves, our guest?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for the level of information you have, given to our people, especially for those that are watching and listening. Like you said, there are a lot of things our country really need. For me, I really think one of our brothers always say, the Liberia we want to see will probably exist in 2065. That is when a lot of us are dead and gone. But, all of us can play our part right now, and I think you are doing a great job by, with the kind of information you have given. So I really want to thank you and, hope to see you back here again to dive into those issues a lot more. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. As usual, it's very late in Liberia. We want to give you time to go to bed. 96, we want to say Truth FM. You've been very good to us. Keep doing it. Everybody in Radio Land, keep listening. Today is Friday. We want to go and for our folks in the Delaware area, I see the Queen. I see you got a new hairdo. Facial looking good. The weekend start today.
Actually, I'm just from the funeral. Delaware we bereaved. We had a lot of people. We have one today. We have having one tomorrow. We have one next week. And I'm a member of the leadership team, so we have to be at those funerals to be with our people. Identify with them in times of bereavement. So I just got in and then I started listening to the show, and I know this is very interesting. And usually I don't like to see you alone on the platform. It makes me mad. I feel hurt about it. So I'm like, let me just jump on quick. But the information was very interesting, yeah. So I just want to say thank you.
Listen, I have actually the format that I like is one-on-one, to be very frank with you.
Yeah,
because our guest gets enough time to talk. Even as you can see, he said he was prepared to do even more. But because of the setup, so we'll bring him back to expand. Thank you very much, Mr. William, for coming. And we'll hopefully, while we talk to you, we'll get your numbers from Telvi, and I will be in touch with you.
Thank you, Mr. William. Thank you so much.
Sarah, thank you very much, and I'll see you Monday.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good night.
I hope Peabody. Okay.
Thank you.
How do I get out of here? There you go. Why did y'all want me to get some of this? Let's see it. I said they don't want me to get some of this. You don't want to put me on the voice show. Yeah. But I'm not all, baby. No, that's not all. Ask me about it with you. You know, Baby, stop, man. Baby, stop. Baby, I told her that. Baby, I told her. Yeah, man. Stop, yeah. Why told her? If I'm gonna tell you, me, I bring us up. I didn't tell her that. Of course. When the men come in, I told you moderating the show. Wow.
She won't make it to that if she don't want. She won't make it to that if she don't want. I can have you the other day. Maybe stop me. Stop that. Stop that thing. You gotta stop that. Maybe you gotta stop that. That's not what happened. Stop that, baby. Oh, can't be doing something like that. Let me see, me turn the thing on, man. Just stop, man. Let me see this thing and close it up. Hey.